Is AI coming to take your job? Maybe. For some, yes, and for others, no. But for you, if you decide to take action with this information, then I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity ahead for you. But you have to take action. If you don't, then you might find yourself in as one of the people who loses their job due to AI. And if that is the case, right, I'm going to share a story, a couple other articles here, and my insights on this. But if that is the case, it's not the end of the world, right? It's in the world if you don't prepare for it and you don't know what to do or have a plan in place if that happens. My view is that yes, AI is coming and AI is changing the landscape. I also think that AI is also an excuse that companies are using to restructure their organizations. I'll get into more details that in a little bit. But I think that if you understand what value you actually have, not the value that you might think that you have to an employer, to your business, to the workforce, but the value you actually have, and you can lean into that. That plus AI actually gives you a ton of leverage and a ton of opportunity to win in this new changing marketplace that we're finding ourselves in. So my buddy sent me this, and he's going to do a video on it as well on YouTube. But it says Detroit automakers have cut more than 20,000 U.S. salary jobs as AI threat looms. Oh, menacing, right? And this is just published. It says GM, Ford, and Stellantis have cut together more than 20,000 salary jobs, according or 19% of their combined workforce from recent employment peaks this decade. Okay, so where are they measuring this from? According to public filings and employment data from the companies, the reasons for the job declines vary by automaker, but are generally tied to evolving technological changes in the industry, including the rise of AI. GM, which has led the cuts, added to its job reductions this week by laying off between 500 and 600 salary workers globally, largely in information technology, operations, and Texas, Michigan. People familiar with the matter told CNBC. Okay. And a couple things here is it's saying is as artificial intelligence expands, it threatens to exacerbate a growing trend for America's largest automakers, the elimination of white-collar workers. Okay, these are headlines for articles designed to get clicks, to instill fear, right? To substantiate companies' positions and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're looking at this. Okay. It says reasons for the job declines may vary by automaker, but in general are tied to evolving technological changes in the automotive industry with the rise of software-defined vehicles, autonomous and all-electric vehicles, and most recently AI. A quote from the CEO, Jim Farley of Ford, says artificial intelligence is going to replace nearly half of all white-collar workers in the U.S. Okay, AI will leave a lot of white-collar people behind, he added later. And it's true, right? AI is going to be incredibly disruptive for a lot of these jobs. Now, I think these estimates, I think they are kind of extreme, right? They're clickbaity, and I think they need qualifiers on the back end of these estimates. Okay, it may cut the current jobs, it may eliminate that, but it's going to transform the workspace. It's going to transform how these companies operate, how these companies hire, their org structures. And there are going to be new roles that pop up, new positions, new skill sets that get put in place. And yes, some of the current jobs will go away. And I think a big part of that is we've been in this super low interest rate environment for, really since 2008, right? Since the financial crisis. Then once we started recovering, interest rates dropped down super low. There's been a ton of liquidity in the market. There's been a ton of incentives for these companies to hire, to grow, to expand, and they've had the money and the liquidity to do so. And stock market and all these things are at all-time highs. Crazy over the past now almost 15 years or more. So these companies, when you have this massive growth phase, which we have had, what happens is they have quotas for hiring. If they're building out and expanding, they got to get the right people in the right positions, and they have the money and capital to do that. And since they're not as restricted and constrained, they might have been more loose with their hiring. Okay, they might have overhired, overstructured in order to keep up with demand and expand and compete in the marketplace. Well, we've entered into this new phase where we have a combination of factors going on, right? Things are at all-time highs, but interest rates have been going up. We had the pandemic, and that reshaped how businesses and the economies operate all over the world. And I still think we haven't felt all the full effects. Like effects and things that took place then are starting to play out more and more now. And so we have a really interesting situation, plus the evolution of AI. And then, of course, they mentioned electronic vehicles, the shifting market, and just inflation making everything go up and prices. So these companies, I think what's happening is they are now looking at their profit margins, looking at how they're going to compete in this market, and they're identifying, hey, we might have a little bit of fat that we got to trim from our workforce. So I think that's also a big part of it. There's a lot of roles and jobs that have popped up that were useful, maybe, right? Some more than others over the past 10, 15 years, but really aren't relevant for these companies. And now these companies are getting tools and systems to better identify how they operate and to streamline their workflow, to streamline how they work, okay? And you saw this with, I've talked about this before, but Facebook putting tracking software on their computers. I mean, it's no secret. It's been going on for forever. Companies, if you have a company laptop and computer, you do have to be careful what you do on that computer or laptop, because it's the company's computer and laptop, and they can go and see all the sites you visit. They can see all the things you do. They can go and grab your computer, and it's their right because it's their computer, and they can do forensic accounting on the computer to see the data flows on and off that device. I mean, I worked at big corporations, and whenever someone would leave the company, right, they had to turn their computer and they would do a forensic analysis of it to make sure that employee wasn't intentionally or unintentionally taking proprietary information off of that computer, okay? So that's not new, but the tools and the ability for companies to do this due to the evolution of AI and just technology in general, it makes it more, gives them more incentive to do so, and it's cheaper as well, and it's easier to pull this data and insights into a format to where they can make strategic decisions. So I think some of that's happening, and so some of these jobs, it's unfortunate that they're being cut, but also at the same time, like, if you got a fluff job, right, just, hey, the good times don't go on for forever. And so you should recognize that about your job, and you should really ask, hey, is my job a fluff job? And if it is, right, instead of being offended or outraged or whatnot, you have to be someone who takes initiative and be like, okay, what skill sets do I have and what skill sets can I reasonably acquire so where I can get a job that is not a fluff job, okay? And that's an important thing to do in general. And so it's basically like saying, hey, the free ride is over for a lot of people, okay? And the benefit for you if you're watching this is that you're likely a person that doesn't want to sit on the sidelines, that doesn't want to just like take the free ride. You actually want to have a job, have success, right? Move up and have an impact on the world. And if you don't, right, you need to actually become more of that person, because that's how you have success in any realm. You have to take initiative. You can't just wait for someone to give you a handout. You can't just wait for someone to give you an opportunity. You have to create opportunities. And if you do, there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunities, because with AI, talking about it transforming how companies work, yes, jobs will go away. Certain jobs will go away. Roles will be compressed. What one person can do, what 10 people could do before. That's incredible. And so you have to start asking yourself, okay, how can I become that one person? How can I become that one person that does the role of 10 in the same amount of time that I do my current job? The benefit is, one, you keep your job, but two, you're probably going to get paid more. Okay, so especially if the company grows and is still efficient and they have less workforce, and you have this skill set that is valuable to them, hey, you have more negotiating room, because fewer people have that. And that's the window of opportunity right now. And that's why I'm wearing my Arsenal hat. This is the soccer team, but I have a program called the AI Arsenal. You can check it out in the link below. And it's a monthly membership where I help you build your foundation. So if you're new to AI, it gives you a perfect place to start. And each month I add tools, trainings, and resources to help you build and grow with AI as stuff comes out. This is different than just a standalone course, because any sort of standalone course on AI is going to be outdated in 3 to 6 weeks, at least, right? And definitely 3 to 6 months. So you get in here, and so you use it to sharpen your skill set so you can develop that edge so that you aren't one of the ones getting laid off. Or if you do, you then have a compelling proposition, right? A compelling resume saying, hey, I actually have this really good skill set plus experience. And that's actually really, really important. I said plus experience because the people that are going to win with AI aren't people that don't have experience, right? You could have someone that has zero experience and they can do a lot with AI. But if you take your experience, which is useful, is valuable, especially when companies are looking to transform their workflows, how they operate, they're looking to enhance the efficiency of their organization, they don't want to get rid of people with that experience because they need that experience plus AI. if you take anything away from this when it comes to AI by itself, a powerful tool. It's also like really, really dumb. Really, really smart, really, really dumb. If you've ever used AI and you said, hey, I want you to give me analysis on this, or hey, answer this question, right? And just use like the free version, or you just use a normal chat AI like ChatGPT or Claude, and you didn't set up projects, you didn't set up context, you didn't set up personal MD files, you didn't set up your profile, your customer profile, your business profile. If you haven't built that infrastructure into your AI and you're just asking it normal questions, the issue is it doesn't know what information to give you. It pulls from everything. It just guesses. But if you have set that up, right, like I teach people in the Arsenal, you're going to get much more refined responses and much more strategic responses and much more usable responses and valuable responses, okay? It needs that experience. And someone who doesn't have experience, they don't know, like for example, when it comes to, automakers, right? And people in that space, they don't know how, car companies work. They have to tap into someone that does. So you need to realize that you, with your experience, you become extremely valuable. And it doesn't have to be specifically on automakers. It could be on certain operational processes or workflows that work really well in the company or position that you're in. And you recognize that, hey, this is actually really valuable. And maybe it no longer applies to this company, but there's other companies out there that need to know this type of workflow. And if you can add that AI skill set to that, then you just become basically like Tony Stark with Iron Man. That's how I like to picture it. You have your Iron Man suit because of the skill set that AI allows you to have. It basically enhances your ability to for work, the amount of things you can do, and the amount of time that you can do. So it's an incredible enhancer. So if you don't want to lose your job, if you want to make sure that you can keep your job and perhaps get promoted or get into a position that you never thought that you would be in before, and for the better way, not as a, oh man, I don't have a job position, then you need to learn this skill set, right? Or you need to start building a company or business that leverages this, that takes advantage of this, because this is a transformation. And these things do not go smoothly, and they generally take longer than you expect. Even though AI is moving exponentially, corporations, there's a lot of studies and stuff out there. I might bring up some stuff on future videos. They still haven't quite figured out how to integrate it, how to do it right. And AI, to be fair, it's powerful, but it's not there yet. But in 18 months, in 3 years, it's going to be there. So you have a window of opportunity to enhance your skill set, to position yourself so that you don't get laid off when they're looking at departments and looking at, hey, who is useful, who's not. You have a chance now to start standing out from the rest of the people, to take action. Or you can just sit back and just let it happen to you, right? And that's that's never been really a winning strategy. So I really implore you to learn as much as you can about this, to really reflect on your job, your experiences, your skill sets, and think about through the lens of how can I enhance what I do and what I'm doing in the path that I'm on? How can I become more valuable to the company that I'm working for, or the companies that I want to work for, so I can maintain the job? Or maybe this is the kick in the butt you need to start your own business. You have to ask yourself that, and then you have to start developing the skills and experiences to make that happen. And watching videos like this, staying up to date on things that are happening are all very important things, but you have to take action, which is why I have the Arsenal. So you can go check it out. It's free 14-day trial, or it's 14-day trial. And if you don't like it, you can always ask for a refund. No big deal. But I really, really recommend that you start building your AI foundation. You start learning about this stuff so that you are aware of how it works, what it's doing, and what it can do. And the sooner you start that, the better, because you're just building your skills, you're building your reps, you're building your experience so that you can be more prepared. So in a month, 3 months, 6 months down the road, right, you're positioned versus being out of position. So that's it for this video. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.